Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me for this presentation on developing a career ladder. My name is Kayla Fahey-Arndt, and I'm the Transfusion Services Manager for Laboratory Services within mHealth Fairview. Today's objectives will be to define career ladder and demonstrate its value, discover how other organizations formulate career ladders, and recognize how we can create a career ladder within laboratory services. So after you listen to this presentation, you're going to know exactly what we need from you and exactly what you need to know about career ladders. It gets exciting. So first and foremost, what is a career ladder? A career ladder is the progression or development path for an individual within a company. The presence of a career ladder creates clarity, structure, and direction. It can provide purpose, meaning, and a sense of ownership. So I really love this definition of a career ladder. If you go on the internet and you Google career ladder, you're going to come up with a ton of different examples. I love this one because it talks about ownership and clarity. Let me just turn on my pointer really quick here. So ownership and clarity. And the cool thing about ownership is what we're really talking about is you designing your own career. So you may know that in the future you want to get to point B and you're at point A today. Well, what does that look like in between? We know that it doesn't always look like a straight arrow. So how can we figure out a development path or roadmap for you to get there? And you can really own that and design your own career. And the clarity part is really exciting because it creates transparency for you. You know, how do I get from step A to B? What's required? So I'm really excited to talk about defining the career ladder structure so that you know exactly what's expected and that we can take ownership of our own careers. So why is a career ladder important? It provides a structure for personal and professional development. It offers a clear, achievable path for the future. So I've kind of already talked about that. It creates transparency around how do I get from point A to point B. It can help folks discover and fully understand their meaning or purpose. You know, we work for a really large organization. It can be hard to tell how our little puzzle piece fits into the larger puzzle. But by having a career ladder, by better understanding our roles and our contributions, we can find meaning and purpose in our positions. It creates a space for continued learning. We all know that we need to be always learning and improving, but this structure kind of facilitates making sure that we don't forget about that and that that's kind of in the front of our mind. And a career ladder allows supervisors and managers to objectively recruit new people, evaluate objectively, develop and reward and recognize their people. There we go. So some really interesting workforce statistics that was put out by a recent Gallup poll. The top 5 reasons people leave their company is because of lack of career growth opportunities. Maybe the job fit just doesn't feel right, like it's not aligned with the personal interests or maybe someone's strengths. The manager or management wasn't a great fit with the person. The pay and benefits weren't what someone was expecting, and they were part of a company culture that they couldn't really stand by. So when we think of a career ladder as a whole, we're not just thinking about like the steps to move people into different positions. We're really considering these 5 large buckets of reasons. So we want people to grow and develop and have opportunities to do that in our organization. We want to make sure people feel good in their jobs, that it's the right job fit, that they feel aligned, that they have meaning or purpose. We want to make sure that we give management tools to reward people, to develop their people, think about the future. We want to make sure people are properly compensated for the work that they're doing and that our company culture is positive and that we retain really good folks. So career ladder benefits. We have it broken down into 2 sections, benefits for you and then benefits for a larger organization. So for you, you can create a personal and professional development roadmap, again, taking charge of your own career development. You can align your career goals with opportunities within our organization. So it's really cool if you have an interest or a specific skill set, and we can become aware of that and then help direct you to opportunities that already exist within mHealth Fairview for you to really hone in on those skills. You can find ways to grow and obtain more responsibility with more compensation. For mHealth Fairview, we want to have highly engaged laboratorians that have a deep sense of purpose and meaning for their work. And we want to keep those people, retain those highly respected, valued, skilled laboratorians. And as leaders, we want to develop laboratorians that have expert skills for succession planning. We're thinking about the future. Who's next? So career ladder design, this is cool. This is where you get more involved. So the structure as we know it today, we're just kind of creating it and you're going to be part of this design. So we know we want the career ladder to apply to all job classes at every laboratory site, including hospitals and clinics. We know we have room to create a level 1 and a level 2 position. So level 1 will be like what we have today, the entry level position, but level 2 will really be that step up position, and we need to have defined criteria for both. At a level 2 level, we will have responsibility. More responsibility will come with more compensation. And we will make sure that we have a defined pathway or structure for getting a level 2, obtaining level 2, and then maintaining that over time. So as you can see on the right, I have the different jobs that are included. Essentially, this is meant to be all the major buckets of job classes that exist today. So we need your help. How do we define level 1 or a level 2 position? So we want to create a focus group structure. And this is the structure of that. It'll be 30 minutes to an hour brainstorming session. We want to have 2 or more people come together to discuss what you'd like to see in a career ladder. So if you're a smaller site, maybe 2 people makes sense. But if you're a larger site, maybe it's more like 5 people, or maybe you have a couple different discussion groups that it can be facilitated. Designate one person to be the scribe or take notes, and then we are going to provide you with examples and discussion questions to get you thinking, to really get your creative juices flowing. And then after you're done, you'll submit your ideas to your manager or director. And all ideas are welcome and will be considered. So everything's on the table, guys. We are creating this from scratch. We want to hear what is meaningful for you. At the end of the day, we don't want to create a career ladder that people don't really buy into. We really want people to be excited about this and feel like they have cultivated and grown it. The front line, right? Okay, so this is a career ladder example. This is actually from Medical Lab Management Magazine article from 2017. This is an example of a phlebotomy career ladder from a real hospital. So I've cited it there on the screen if you do want to take a look at it. We will also provide this to our focus groups. This isn't an example of our positions currently as we have today. I didn't want to kind of bias you by putting down our exact requirements and kind of making you feel like this is what we're looking for. This is just an example from another hospital. So however we want to do it is fine, but I just wanted to give you kind of a baseline, but didn't want to bias you too much. So this hospital decided to create phlebotomy 1 and phlebotomy 2. You can see, let me grab my pointer again. You can see they talk about the years of clinical experience. So when you're creating the career ladder, maybe some differentiating points might be the amount of experience someone has. They talk about continuing education. Of course, we already have those standards within our organization. Might it look different in a career ladder? You decide. Talking about preceptor training. So education is a huge thing in our organization. Our 5th dimension is research and education. We have a lot of students. So would training be something that we value to put in the career ladder? Some kind of teaching or preceptor training. Talking about conferences or projects approved for the laboratory. If staff meetings are a thing in your area, maybe that's something that's really meaningful for a certain job class. They also talk about proficiency, so extra duties or extra training, extra proficiency or competency, and talking bigger scope, multiple department-wide projects, hospital-wide committees. Of course, there are different things that we can participate in today, like Safety Always training is hospital-wide. It's required for all of us, but maybe a step up would be like a coach or a champion. So just some ideas to get your creative juices flowing. Again, this can include other things than what you see here in the example. Additional things that you might consider, like I already said, additional training or competency. Maybe there are specific duties or responsibilities that your job class has, QC responsibilities or some other kind of maintenance, whatever it might be. Additional certifications, thinking about specialist certifications. Quality assurance or improvement project participation is always needed. How do we continually improve? And those ideas come from you. And then memberships or participation in specific committees, just some other buckets that you might consider to include in your career ladder discussions. So here are some thought questions that like I said, we would provide you. So questions to spur discussions and idea generation. So scope, we're not asking you to think about a career ladder across all job classes, but what we are asking you is to think specific to your job. So if you're an HT, you want to think about that job class. If you're an LCT, you want to think about that job class. If you're an MLS, think about being an MLS. Think specific to your job. And then I've already kind of mentioned the first few questions, but I want to kind of highlight the bottom two. Think about growth or development activities or opportunities that you might want to see built into the career ladder. Think about leadership experience activities that you might want to be incorporated. You don't have to get specific or into the nitty-gritty, but you might say something like you want so many opportunities for leadership training or some kind of skill set development, whatever it is. Don't want to bias you, but those are some things that we're really looking for in the career ladder. So I love this quote. It's by Jeff and Todd. They wrote an article that I used to build this presentation, and they are kind of in the executive leadership and coaching world. And they said, the ability to apply experience along an intentional development path is how you take ownership of defining or designing your own career. Guys, I love this quote because it talks about, we can have all the experience that we want. We can be here forever. But at the end of the day, in order to design our own career, we've got to be really intentional about how we learn and develop and grow ourselves. So really taking ownership of our own career. And I think that's really what the career ladder is going to do for us. So again, thank you for listening to this presentation and being a participant. So the next steps are to participate in a focus group at your site, and your site leader will help kind of a facilitator create time for you to do that. Provide your ideas back to your site manager or director, and then we'll take those ideas and kind of create the career ladder structure. Just to give you a heads up on the project timeline, so we're really being aggressive with this timeline because we do want to implement and roll this out during the performance review season in early 2020. So we're hoping to get your responses back pretty quickly in the next month or so, and then we're going to start working and digging our heels in and really just going for it in 2020. So thanks again so much for your attention and for participating in the groups. Really appreciate all of your investment.